your business is worth billions of dollars. Your stock is up, I think it's about 600% so far this year. Talk to me a little bit about the success that you've seen and what's driven that. We were talking a little bit before we came on about your background. Tell me just a little bit about where you're from and how you ended up founding this company, Jumia.
Of course, pleasure, and thanks for having me. I'm French and Canadian, and my dad attempted to take my mom to Canada for a few years, but after a couple of winters, my mom, who was from the south of France, brought the family back. So I ended up growing up in the south of France, and then went on to, go to business school, and I had a bit of a traditional career working for Arthur Andersen and then McKinsey. And I met with Jeremy, the co-founder with me when we were together at McKinsey, and we were in the late 2000s, and we were looking at the world, and we were basically seeing everywhere e-commerce becoming very big in America, obviously, in Europe, in China, in Latin America. And we looked at Africa and we saw that there was no e-commerce player there, and that we think that this business and this service could be even more relevant for Africa because of the nature of this continent, where you have, in a nutshell, a huge population, and the sellers and the brands have the biggest trouble to distribute their goods and services because of the nature of the infrastructure in Africa. So we thought, look, if we can make this business work, if we can, I think it's going to be very successful, right? So that was the idea, and then we got started, I would say, and the journey has been great since founding it. But of course, we have a long way to go.
Yeah, I mean, and first of all, actually, I should start by apologizing to the viewers about the background here. I was unexpectedly trapped in this hotel room here in Denver. So I want to thank the lovely people at the hotel. Apologies for the unprofessional background. But to get back to you, you were working in Africa when you found this out, or was it just that you were looking at the e-commerce landscape and thought, Africa, that's a place that needs this service?
Yeah, the latter. I had traveled to Africa for work. I had spent time when I was with McKinsey in a factory of canned tuna in Ivory Coast. I had, of course, traveled to...
Not Mozambique, right?
No. Ivory Coast.
Okay.
And I had traveled to a bunch of other countries, and it was really the sort of the opportunity as well as the passion to doing it in Africa, right? So it was more like that, and more of a realization.
Yeah. So how does an outsider, a guy from the south of France who is French and Canadian, get involved in and start a business that operates in Africa? Because I assume, lots of people can see untapped opportunities in Africa, but to actually go and tap them seems like a different thing.
Yeah, no, exactly. And I think it's always, those entrepreneur stories are about, in a way, meeting the right people at the right time. And for us, it was with Rocket, right? So Rocket, of course, the VC, which is well known, was launching businesses across the emerging markets in Southeast Asia, in Russia, in Brazil, in Latin America, and pretty much everywhere. And so we met and we said, look, we want to do Africa. and Rocket was already, launched in South Africa, and they had plans for, other countries, and it all came together. And then very quickly after that, we were very lucky, I would say. Of course, one can say successful, but sometimes, you gotta say it's also the luck that we had Rocket, and we had a private equity firm backing us, as well as a telco. And it was amazing for us because 6 months after we said, let's do it, we ended up having both a VC like Rocket with a lot of knowledge of internet, e-commerce, and the emerging markets, a telco, so a company which knew consumers in Africa and had pretty much created an industry, before us, and a private equity firm. And so the combination, having, very strong and complementary shoulders, gave us the opportunity to really focus on the execution and on cracking the execution, because Africa is obviously a very unique continent, and the countries, I would say, are very unique when it comes to execution of the logistics, the payment, the marketplace. I mean, all the components of an e-commerce business.
Yeah.
And so we could really focus on that, and I think this is why we we have been so far successful in building a good service is because we have had very good shoulders and have been able to execute.
And Sacha, you know, when people hear Africa, I know there's a lot of like, oh, okay, you know, a lot of eye rolls. When I've written about Africa in the past, people think, okay, you know, a little startup thing here or there. Your business is worth billions of dollars. Your stock is up, I think it's about 600% so far this year. Talk to me a little bit about the success that you've seen and what's driven that, because a lot of people, again, talk about there's opportunity in Africa. They talk about, you know, these things aren't there, and there's an opportunity to build businesses and to make businesses. But the success, I mean, I guess to put it in a hackneyed little, you know, phrase, the proof is in the pudding. I mean, you can see through the success that you all have had and that Jumia has had, the opportunity that exists. Talk to me about that success.
Well, you know, we want to stay very humble about it because we see ourselves as a very young company.
No, look, there's no time for humility here on the Voices of Wall Street.
No.
Throw that out. Talk about why you're the greatest.
No.
The business is going to be huge.
Yeah, exactly. But you know, like we are here for the long term, and we know it's going to be a long journey. And part of, you know, why we are excited about doing that at all is also to change a bit the perception about Africa. Right. And when you read the news, and if you go, you can do the experience yourself. Now you log into any news network and you type Africa and you're going to see the usual stuff. Right. And there are many great things happening, great companies, great entrepreneurs, great projects, great news, right, which are about, you know, which are happening, and that I think we should talk more about rather than the stuff which is kind of always the same negative stuff that tends to come out. But anyway, look, I think what we have been successful at is cracking the execution of e-commerce, really. And if we step back, the first few years, we have really, I think, built a platform which is working, and which is working very efficiently, which is scaling nicely. We have built a marketplace connecting hundreds of thousands of sellers with millions of consumers. We've built a cross-border marketplace. We have built Jumia Logistics to connect the sellers and to make the package, you know, go to the consumers. We deliver everywhere, even in the rural area. We have built a very strong brand, and, you know, we've built the payment with JumiaPay. And so I think that's what we are quite proud of for now, is we have built I think, a very efficient company to operate e-commerce in Africa, including logistics, payment, and we have a lot of, you know, room to grow the business and to create value. And I think that's what we are most proud of right now, is we have built a good service that people like to use, which is well executed and which can scale very nicely. And then, of course, the people who look at us, they see, well, look, when you look at e-commerce today, e-commerce is proven, right? It's a very successful business model. If you look at Africa, it's 1.2 billion people. You know, everyone now is connected. You can argue about the penetration of 3G, 4G, 5G. Look, you have hundreds of millions of consumers to go after, right? In any way you put it. And then you get this company which has built a business which is working well. We have de-risked a lot of the execution by being diversified from a country perspective, by being a marketplace, by being asset light, and we provide, you know, a very good exposure for investors to a continent which is fast growing. And this diversity, I think, is just something which is quite unique. Because when you want to invest in Africa, sometimes you have a very country-specific asset, or you have an asset which is going to be, you know, mining extraction or something like that, which is great. But I think we provide this exposure to really the opportunity in the continent and the consumer, with the tech, the payment, the logistics. So I think it's something which you know is must be attractive.
And Sacha, really quick, is it just, I mean, are you guys just replicating the Amazon model in Africa, or talk to me about what's unique about Jumia? I mean, is this just Amazon in Africa, or is it something different?
Well, you know, it's e-commerce, logistic, and payment in Africa. And when I say e-commerce, it's the physical goods and food delivery. So we have Jumia, where there's a marketplace to buy products, you know, stuff. And then we have Jumia Food to do the food delivery. And we have built Jumia Logistic to enable the package, you know, shipping and delivery. And we treat that as a business. And then, of course, we have Jumia Pay. So I think, you know, we're Jumia, and Jumia, in a way, Some things that we do are closer to maybe Alibaba than Amazon. Some things that we do are closer to maybe Mercado Libre. Some things that we do are closer to some examples that we see in Southeast Asia, like, I don't know, Shopee or something like that. So I think at the end of the day, e-commerce is both the same everywhere, but also very different. What's unique about e-commerce is it's down to the small details. How do you work with sellers? How do you do logistics? How do you do payments? How do you build a brand which is relevant to consumers? How do you offer products which are relevant? And all those things are conceptually the same everywhere in the world, but they're different. And this is why local players at the end of the day always, are very strong, because they're tailored to the market. You see in Poland, this company which went public recently, Allegro. I mean, it's a Polish company. So
Right.
we want to be successful and relevant to consumers, and we look at what's happening in the world, take examples and look at those role models, but then we do it right for our consumers and our sellers.
And yeah, that drives me to another point. I mean, how have you managed to keep Amazon or Alibaba or, these other large players? Because, when you talk about Africa, it's really hard to do from a business perspective without talking about China. How do you keep those guys at bay, or how have you managed to and continue to grow your platform there?
Well, we've been very focused on building, our brand and our service for Africa, which, like I said, takes a great deal of focus, great deal of adaptation, and great deal of passion to do it in Africa. And from an outsider perspective, I look at those players, and I think they're very busy on with their own priorities, I would say, right? And if you look at their international expansion, it's I think Africa is pretty far in the list, but who knows, right? They have their own strategy.
They haven't come for you guys yet. I mean, what if they do come after you guys? What's your plan to fight them off?
Well, we don't control that. So what we control is to do a great job, build a great business, build a great brand, build a great service. And again, like, to do that in Nigeria, in Kenya, in Senegal, in Morocco, in Egypt, and so on, like I said, it takes a lot. It takes a lot of efforts. It takes a lot of adaptations. It takes a lot of time and focus to do it. And we are only doing that, right? We're only doing this. And at the end of the day, that's what we need to focus on. And the rest, I don't control what others decide to do. I control what I build. And if I build a great business, I think great things will happen anyway.
Okay. And so let's talk about something that you've mentioned. You talked about JumiaPay, which is something that's unique to you. I'd like you to talk a little bit about just how that works, because obviously Africa has been one of the places where you've really seen the growth of e-payments and digital currencies. You've got the M-Pesa growing like wildfire. So talk to me a little bit about JumiaPay, and then also Jumia One, which is this food delivery service that you guys have also created and are rolling out.
Yeah. No, those are very interesting assets. And JumiaPay is, to make it extremely simple, is a sort of version of PayPal, if you will, where consumers can create a wallet when they shop on Jumia. And then with this wallet, we show them that they can do more than this, and that they can access payment services, they can pay their utility bills, they can also have access to financial services. And our strategy here is pretty simple. We have the transactional engine, we have the use case, we have the checkout, a little bit like eBay had PayPal, or PayPal, sorry, had eBay. And so eBay was pushing PayPal to the users because it made sense, and then we are feeding JumiaPay by encouraging, I would say, the Jumia users to create a wallet while they shop on Jumia. And then this wallet becomes relevant to the users because we do other things with it. And of course, we have a lot of projects with JumiaPay. For now, we are focused on driving the penetration, so conversion of Jumia users to JumiaPay. And then once we continue, we want to enter into more distribution of financial services, payment processing, and a lot more in payment and fintech, because we have this unique situation where JumiaPay has a lot of users thanks to Jumia. And Jumia Food is a great business. It's very much like you would imagine in the West, right? So it's restaurant delivery, but also we call it, on-demand services. So there's delivery of drinks and flowers and fresh products, whatever you want to be delivered in 30 or 45 minutes, you get it delivered in most of the big cities with that. And it's an extremely good business for us because it drives a lot of usage from our consumer base. It provides a relevant offering to drive consumer lifetime value, essentially, because people shop on Jumia and then they can also order food on Jumia. You have a lot of also maybe the affluent consumers. Sometimes they love to order food, and then some consumers come through Jumia Food and then convert to e-commerce. And we also have a subscription program for consumers where they can subscribe to Jumia and then they can get free delivery, for example. And so it provides a great complement. And then strategically, for our logistics, this makes essentially, it makes our logistic not just an e-commerce logistic, but also an express delivery logistics, because we can, deliver as fast as 30 minutes in the capital city. So this is a great addition to our logistics offering. And last but not least, as we think about JumiaPay, one day JumiaPay is also maybe in the offline world, a way for consumers to pay in the offline world. We already work with all the restaurants, right?
Did you talk digital currency there?
No, not digital currency, but points of sales and POS and those kind of things, right? So why could a JumiaPay user with his phone not be able to pay the restaurants when he goes there? What I'm saying is that we have the relationship with those restaurants, so it's also a very good asset for us to have that as we think about the future of JumiaPay. But right now, the focus is growing this great category, which has great unit economics and great consumer attractiveness. And then, of course, we see the long-term strategic benefits. That's what I wanted to say here.
It seems like you are really more than the American model, kind of creating the Chinese model where you do everything in one app, kind of the way Chinese consumers do with WeChat.
Well,
like there's a bit of that here.
Yeah, there's a bit of a debate around this. We have free apps, right? Technically, we have one app for to buy physical goods like e-commerce. We have one app to order food, and then we have the JumiaPay app to operate the wallet. You can order from each of the app on the other services to some extent, right? But our focus has been more on, we want to be the best at food delivery. We want to be the best at e-commerce. And then whether all that is done in one app, we are very integrated. It's the same brand and it's the same login and password. So if you're a Jumia user, it really doesn't matter. You can connect, and it's very seamless on all the apps. And so, there's a bit of debate. It's like sometimes you see Uber and Uber Eats should have been the same app, Paul. At the end of the day, we are focused on building a great business. And whether it's one app or a couple more, then I think it's, for us.
But even within that, you guys are also doing gaming, right?
Well, no, we are not operating gaming. We're distributing gaming, subscriptions. So through JumiaPay, for example, if you are a gaming editor and you have gamers in Africa, it's very difficult for you, I can tell you, to have your Kenyan players and your Moroccan players to actually play, because you do not have a payment gateway to let them pay with the local debit card or their local mobile money wallet or something like that. So a lot of gaming companies are distributing subscriptions through JumiaPay. And we have launched this pretty exciting partnership where you can subscribe on Jumia and you can play a very large number of arcade games and platform games. But this is a partnership, right? So we don't actually edit games, but gaming is a great, it's very relevant for our consumers. So we're happy that the gamers come to Jumia to either buy the subscriptions they want on their favorite games, right? Or they also can use the Jumia subscription to play games. But for now, that's more like a distribution than anything. And so it's one category for us. It's the same as when our sellers sell shoes. Well, here it's a seller of game. And I think that's the amazing thing with JumiaPay is when you think about it, anything can be distributed, and you can distribute insurance, you can distribute digital subscriptions, tickets, all the digital and payment services, which is very relevant for us.
So last question I have for you before we conclude our interview, and I want to thank you, first of all, before I ask the question, for your time and for speaking with us here at Voices of Wall Street. But
Thank
what's
you.
the next step? What does 2021 bring for Jumia? Is the focus on creating profitability? Is the focus on just growing the scale? What's next, and where are your eyes laser focused right now in terms of the future?
Yeah, it's a very good question. We are right now in the middle of a strategic phase where we want to grow the business. Of course, it's a very big focus in order to, I would say, put the profitability question kind of behind us, right? So I think 3 years ago we gathered and we realized, look, there's no question about our business. Like I said, e-commerce is proven. There's no doubt about that. There's no doubt about Africa. There's no doubt, I think, about our execution. And there's only one question really that remains, right? It's like, yeah, well, how does it look, from a profitable standpoint? And is this business profitable? And so we have been very focused on this over the last few years, because we think that as the profitability question and the model is proven from a financial standpoint, we will have a lot of opportunities to create more values and to invest more resources behind great opportunities that we have. And so we're going to stay focused on that strategy, which is to, a combination of growing the business, growing the number of users, transactions, GMV, driving the penetration of JumiaPay. And as we do that, bring the company on a path to profitability. And here our goal is to really hit some milestones so that we all feel comfortable that the model works and that the business is profitable. And so over the last few quarters, we've brought a few exciting milestones. Like first, we were gross profit after fulfillment positive in one country, then at group level. And we've been making money on every order for now 3 quarters in a row. So, those milestones, they keep coming. And I think as they come, then we can all, sort of agree that the profitability question is behind us. And then we can consider, a lot of options for the next phase, which includes
let me make sure I understand you here. Are you saying that profitability is the goal, or that profitability is not the goal, but if you achieve these other goals, it'll come?
No. No, the goal for us is to reach the milestones to put the question of profitability behind us, right? And so that's the focus. To do that, I need to grow, obviously, right? So growth is a key focus in order to achieve the strategic objective to hit this, profitability milestones.